Good morning. It's just after 5 a.m. here in Calgary, and this is a flow for your hips. We're going to be incorporating some balance work into it, but it's really an exploration of how your leg bones are moving in your pelvis, and we're also going to throw in a little bit of twisting because that's highly related to how your pelvis and your hips function. You'll see I've got a chair here, and that is all we need. So we're going to begin in Tadasana, bottoms of the feet on the floor. Could you imagine anything else? Center of the heels, ball of the foot, base of the pinky toe. So 3 points there. And just feel how your foot is against the mat or the floor, and the floor of the mat is against the foot. So don't try and think about the feeling, but rather just feel the sensation and the quality of the floor or the mat that you are standing on. And can you feel those 3 points on the bottom of your feet? It's like you're standing on a tripod. And then begin to notice your breath, your inhale and your exhale. And notice how your day has been with you, or your night has been with you, and you have been with your day or your night. So coming in and getting present and noticing the context for where you are now. All right, so now we're just going to bring our weight over into one leg. We're going to lift the other foot up, toes to the floor. This is maybe where you will stop, or you might lift fully and then bring it back down. So we're bringing weight over onto one leg, coming up onto the toes, but it's really a hip flexion as you're coming up onto the toes. That's how you're coming up. So you're coming up onto those toes and then up. So that movement up onto the toes is through your knee and your leg bone in the hip socket. So pay attention to that leg bone movement in the hip socket, and you just decide how far you want to go, right? So sometimes balance might be a little bit off for any number of reasons. And as you're shifting left to right, and you can even stay on one side for a few repetitions and just get a feel of it, but it's noticing what your foot, that is the standing leg foot, is doing, noticing what the standing leg is doing. And notice how as you go from 2 points to less than 2 points to 1 point, the load has to transfer somewhere. So where is it transferring? Are you shifting out like that? Are you holding or gripping further up the chain? And if you're adding extraneous tension that feels more like a yicky strain or a tightness, then ease back a little bit so that you can actually feel the load coming into your leg, and your hip's not going out to the side. Some people try and like shove their hip in. I think that's often a compensation. So can you just notice when you're coming into your leg, when you lose that and you start to deviate and compensate, can you just be right where you are? And that can be really, really, really powerful, even just there, because just because you're not doing the full range doesn't mean you're not getting benefit. In fact, I would say you're getting more benefit when you're not doing the full range, but you're doing the range that is full for you at this moment, right? Because then you've got things working more effectively. Okay, good. Now let's play with rotating that leg bone in the hip socket. So we're rotating the leg bone, feeling that movement in the hip socket, noticing your pelvis. Good. And then other side, just noticing where that is. So we're getting a feel this because we're going to be doing a lot of this as we move through a few of these pieces of the sequence. So then from here, we're going to start to lift and then rotate. So you might still stay here with your toes on the ground, or you might lift a little bit and find the movement here. Now just again, notice if you want to do this, if your pelvis wants to do this, can you be here and just move that leg bone in the hip socket? Good. And then drop that. Okay, and then bring the weight over to the other side. And maybe you're here, or maybe you're here. You just get a feel of where things are at. Notice what's going on further afield, whether it's up through your body, whoops, or you're doing something like that. I love it. Okay, good. And then bring that down. Okay, now we're going to bring this foot up and bring it up onto a chair. Now, if coming up to, this is too high, then you can use a lower level or even a block to put your foot on. But you decide. And now we're just going to move through that hip and the knee and the ankle, as well as this other side. This looks a little touch like a warrior two type of movement. Okay, now from here, bring your hand to the outside of your thigh. Press your thigh back into the hand. So as you're looking at me, I'm moving my leg back towards the wall, but I'm moving it not because I'm pushing my knee back, but because I'm moving the leg bone in the hip socket. Now you might feel something in through here a little bit. You might feel something in your bum. Just notice whatever it is that you're experiencing. Nothing in your back though. Nothing in your back. Nothing in your ribs. No increases of that kind of strainy or muscle contraction. Those guys aren't needed in the way that we're needing our outer hip right now. Okay, so now we're going to spin around and we're going to be facing the chair. And this is where we get to add a twist. So I'm going to rotate towards this leg and I'm going to press my hand on the leg and just allow myself into a twist. Easy breathing. Feel the bottom of your foot on the floor. Center of the heel, ball of the foot, base of the pinky toe. And then come back around and let's twist away from that. Now when you're rotating, see if you can keep that pelvis quiet. The reason being is we're focusing on the engine of the twist at the obliques. So it's a movement of the rib cage relative to the pelvis. So we're not leveraging with the arms, which can create havoc to your spine or your SI. It's more about really focusing on the obliques being the primary engine, and wherever the tissue stops you is where the tissue stops you. So you don't have to like move your pelvis in order to stay safe. You just notice where this is your stopping point. And you'll find that your posture will get better. Your abdominal control will get better. The way your pelvis functions will be better. Okay, and then untwist. Okay, now I'm going to come up onto my toes and I'm going to rotate like so. Okay, coming back to here again. And I'm going to take my stance a little bit wider and move here and here. So a little bit longer. You don't have to do that. You can use what we were doing earlier with the stance a bit closer. Take your hand to the outside of your thigh. Press the thigh into the hand. Good. And now come here, bringing the leg off. And let's just stay here for a moment. Bring the leg into a mini tree to begin with. Maybe your hands come up. Take the ankle up a little bit higher now, and then come into a standing one-legged squat. And then come back up. Let's go a bit higher now, but this time instead of bending over to grab your foot to get into tree, can you bring your foot up to your hand so you don't have to round forward, and the movement is more through that hip socket. Sometimes hard to do in slow-mo. So you went from here and then moving that leg bone up towards your hand and then placing the foot on the thigh. Good, and then from here, coming over, back into your squat, and then back into your mini, and back into Tadasana. Good. Now from here, let's switch the chair to the other side. And let's take the leg up to the chair and start to move hips, knees, ankle. And as the movement here, it's the exercise, but also be aware of the other parts of your body, right? Because it's one thing to be able to do an exercise, but with what extraneous stuff are you doing it with? Because that is what reduces the consistency. That is what reduces the strength or the mobility gains. Because when you add in all that extra, then you're not actually utilizing the area you're meant to be utilizing. So when we can really be aware and clear about what's happening, we make so much more progress. So much more progress. Okay, now we're going to come back to here and then taking a twist towards the wall. Feel the bottom of your foot, center of the heel, ball of the foot, base of the pinky toe. And the leg that's up on the chair is pressing gently into your hand. And then coming back around, and we can take a twist, thinking and focusing on your abdomen, being that primary mover to help that rotation occur. And you might feel a little bit limited through here, depending on the time of day or what you've been doing with your day. If you've been sitting in front of the computer or hunched over, this might feel a little bit more limited, but also more freeing at the same time. Good, and then come back. Let's swing back around. Bring the hand to the outside of the thigh, press the thigh into the hand, and then start to move. So focusing in on that leg bone in the hip socket, leg pushes into the hand. It's not so much the knee that's pushing back, it's really the movement of the leg in the hip socket, so the pelvis doesn't go with it. Yeah. So a lot of my older adult clients who are plus 70, when they do this, it's remarkable how their posture begins to change, right? When they focus in on how their body is actually meant to be moving, dowager humps start to shift, head poke forward starts to shift. The way they feel through their back and their pelvis and their knees and their feet all start to shift because of how they're doing their movement. Good, and now swing this foot off. Good, and then just take a moment here. Good, and bring yourself up into mini tree. And then bring an ankle up onto the knee. But watch what's happening. It's leg bone motion in the pelvis. Good, now it's hips, legs in the pelvis, plus the knee, and the legs are coming towards your belly as opposed to you coming towards your belly. So allow this to be a hip flexion of the legs coming up this way. Good, and then if you would like, we can take it up a little bit more where the leg is coming up towards your belly. Then you can grab your shin and place your foot on your leg. Good. Feel that foot against the leg. It's a bit windy in my room here. Feel the foot against the leg. Feel the foot against the floor. And then slide it back, ankle to knee. And then take that into a squat. And then into a mini tree. Whoop. And then into standing. All right, and so now notice what that feels like. All right, so now let's bring ourselves back into a mini tree, back into a squat. Whoa, let's try that one more time. Back into a mini tree, back into a squat. And now let's take that leg and take your hands and interlace your fingers underneath your leg like that. And bring this leg forward. So you decide how much you want to straighten that knee. Maybe you straighten it this far. But as you are moving that leg into an extension at the knee, watch what goes on with your shoulders and your rib cage and your neck. Good, and then swing the leg back and bring it forward. And then bring it back. And bring it forward. Okay, mini tree. squat, up, and down. Perfect. Okay. And mini tree. And squat. So we're playing around with those hips, leg bones, and pelvis. And then up and taking that leg forward. Fingers are interlaced. Now you might have trouble with putting your hands, like having your leg this high. So you could always just be this low here. Do the same thing. You can even have your toes on the ground and do the same thing. Yeah, so you choose where it makes the most sense, and then you get to grow it. Okay, and then we're going to swing the leg back, and then bring the leg forward. So if you're lower, then it's looking a little like this. Maybe even with a bit of a wobble too. So you're going back. Well, let me get my footing again. All right, so back, and then forward, and then back, and then forward, right? So it might look like that, or it might look like this. But again, where I want you to focus is how the range you have has to do with how your leg bone is moving in your pelvis. Yeah? And then ankle to knee. Squat. Hold on, let me find that. Well, let's find the balance. So this is really great, hey, for you to see me lose my balance. And now squat. Now come up. Now foot to inner, and then come down. So take that pause to find and regain your balance as opposed to moving through your imbalance. Well, you could do that. You could do that. Either really works. Just notice which gives you better benefit. All right, lovely. So now you're here standing, center of your heel, ball of your foot, base of your pinky toe. Let's take a nice little squat here. Balance off both sides, and then come up. And then again, and come up. So the movement here is down and up. So it's not lowering your upper body down. It's hinging here, but the legs are coming up towards your belly. And we're going to come back to the chair. Bring that chair around, and we're going to have a seat. Sitting here. And now feeling through here, let's just take a small little twist towards one side. And back around. Take a twist to the other side. And then back around one more time, twist. And back around. And a gentle side bend. I love the idea of you being a tea kettle. Your spout is the armpit. The water moves down the inner side of your arm. There's a little teacup on the floor, and it enters into that teacup, that water. And then coming back up, other side. Feel the sitting bone that you're moving away from. Even though your weight is more on the other, still feel that other sitting bone, and only go as far as you can still pay attention. Good, and then come here. Perfect. So now here you are in sitting, feeling your feet on the floor, noticing your breath, and you're quiet. Or whatever other feelings are there, easy, easy breathing. Lovely. Now you can be in this sitting position for as long as you would like. When you're ready to move, take 5 more breaths and count them on your exhale. You have a lovely, lovely rest of your day. Mwah. We will see you at the next video.